Hey y'all, this is Belle from Belle's Middle Grade. Welcome to my channel. This is so weird. I have an Instagram, Belle's Middle Grade Library, and I decided recently to start a YouTube and see how this goes. I know it's going to be awkward at first because it's very awkward, but here we go. I thought the first video I'd start with was my favorite series, but this will be like a part one. This is my favorite longer series, so 4 or more books that I've read in it. They're not going to be in any order except for like the last 2. There'll be one that's one of my favorites of all time, plus it has a special place in my heart, and then my favorite series of all time. But other than that, they won't be in any particular order. And then I'll also do a video of my favorite series of like the traditional like trilogy or even maybe a duology. But that'll be harder to narrow down because there's so many of those. So first off, I'm going to start with the Cogheart series by Peter Bunzl. I read this not long after I started getting into middle grade, and it helped me discover that I love steampunk middle grade. It is so good. I'm just going to read you the synopsis of the first book. Lily's life is in mortal peril. Her father is missing, and now silver-eyed men stalk her through the shadows. What could they want from her? With her friends, Robert, the clockmaker's son, and Malcolm, her mechanical fox, Lily is plunged into a murky and menacing world. Too soon, Lily realizes that those she holds dear may be the very ones to break her heart. Murder, mayhem, and mystery meet in this gripping Victorian adventure. And that's something else. Victorian, I love that. So Victorian, steampunk, mystery, adventure, like all of it ticks all the boxes. And Malcolm, the mechanical fox, is just the best. He has my heart. I loved him so much, and the friendship that grows between Lily and Robert is amazing, and they become a found family of their own in a way. And each book they have a new adventure and a new mission they're on, and it's just, each one is just so amazing. I can't wait for him to come out with more books. I know I have his latest book, but it's Barrington's Stoke, I think that's the name of the publisher, and it's a little bit smaller. I'm excited to read that one, but I'm also very excited to see what he comes out with next as far as standalone or series that's more the length of like these. So I really highly recommend this series. It's really good. Next we have the Polar Bear Explorers Club by Alex Belle. Now the first 3 is a trilogy, and the 4th book starts a new trilogy, but since it's all in the same world and everything, I'm including it as a longer series because that's what I think of it as. I'll read the synopsis for the first book. It sounded like a respectable and worthy enough death for an explorer, tumbling from an ice bridge to be impaled upon a mammoth tusk. But Stella really didn't want that to happen just the same. Join Stella, Starflake, Pearl, and her 3 fellow explorers as they trek across the snowy icelands and come face to face with frost fairies, snow queens, outlaw hideouts, unicorns, pygmy dinosaurs, and carnivorous cabbages. When Stella and 3 other junior explorers get separated from their expedition, can they cross the frozen wilderness and live to tell the tale? This is so good. I love this. Like everything, even the synopsis kind of makes me giggle because it has all those things like the pygmy dinosaurs and the carnivorous cabbages. Like, this is just such creative writing and so atmospheric too. Like, especially the first 3 in the series are perfect winter reads. Like, it's so atmospheric. She is an incredible writer, and it's such an amazing adventure. And the friendship that she forms with her other explorers, I just loved it. And who she is and what you discover about her and her fight to be a member even though they don't allow girls, and her proving that girls can be just as good, and everything that goes along with that. It's such an incredible story, and each one is just as great and just as adventurous. And then Ocean Squid was atmospheric in a whole new way, and she killed it just as much. And you get some more characters, new characters in Ocean Squid, but you get to see a couple familiar ones, and it's the same story setting, but just a new adventure and new characters and a new... It's just amazing. I just love it so much, and I can't wait for the next book and the Ocean Squid part to come out soon, because I will be reading that right away. Next up, we have the Elena Ransom series by J.S. Wood. This is an indie author, indie published. The author had reached out to me and asked if I'd be interested in reading and reviewing her books, and I said yes. It's I think the 5th book is going to come out later this year, and it's going to be a 6-book series. I get a lot of indie authors that reach out to me, and I don't know why, but before Bookstagram, for some reason, I thought that if it was indie published and it wasn't traditionally published by like a big publisher, that means they weren't good. And that was such an ignorant way of thinking, and I was proved very wrong. Some of the best books I've ever read have been independently published, and this is definitely one of them. This is one of my favorite series of all times. I was so impressed. I read these so fast, back to back. I just could not put them down, and I really need that 5th book now. So if someone says they love middle grade with their whole heart, but you never hear them utter anything about indie books, then you're missing out. I would get them to open up their eyes a little bit more. So let me read you the synopsis of the first book. Elena Ransom was perfectly content with her life, and she didn't want any of it to change. However, her 13th birthday brought many new adjustments, including being sent to boarding school. At Grimsby School of the Republic, Elena faces many new challenges as she tries to make friends, deals with overwhelming classwork, and struggles with a demanding drill instructor. In addition to this, the school proves to be a mysterious place. Elena soon finds herself on an unexpected journey with her friends. Will her adventure lead her back home, or is she on a path to unknown places? Only time will tell. So this is a school setting, and it's an amazing school setting. By law, they have to start the school when they hit 13th. There's politics, it's just amazing. This is like an alternate world, and the domes and the I call him a tyrant that leads them all. It's just, and all the things people don't know, and it's just everything that comes out. And each book has a prologue that gives you another hint, another clue, and another insight into a certain character that you will read about. And when it all comes together, those prologues and then everything you learn in each book, and it's just how the author kept it all together and like made it come full circle. I said this on my Instagram post. It's like that series that shall not be named, but like that's how I felt when I read that series. It just blew my mind, that this complex world and story and how it all wrapped together and everything linked up. It was just amazing, and it blew my mind. I loved it. And the school, I felt so exhausted for them. Everything they go through, like mentally, and then the drills they have for like the drill class and the trial. It's basically, I call them trials, but things they have to do, like the simulations and how they get the scan in. Like, it's just all amazing. Every detail of this is so amazing and creative, and the writing is spectacular. It's just, and it's so like the adventures are insane. Each one gets more and more crazy. And each book is each new year at the school. So like book 1, she just turns 13. So in book 2, she's 14, and so on and so on. It's kind of like that series that I said could not be named too. But I love that because you get it's not all rushed like you do a few months of the school and then it's all of a sudden the next, like you get that full year and that full story, and it takes that long for them to get these things done and everything they're on trying to accomplish. And the way book 4 ended, I really need that next book. So I highly recommend this one, y'all. I really think y'all should read it. Next we have just an amazing set of books. I have them set up in the order I read them, from the top left all the way down, but I think the author has another way, and the order she recommends reading them on her website. But I loved how I read them. There's also one I read that's in the Broken Lands part. It's really hard to find a printed version, so I had to read that on ebook, which I don't like, but I was desperate, so I had to read it. But it's the Greenglass House series. Now, some of them don't say part of that, but the thing about her books is they're all connected. It's all part of the same world, and they interlace. It's just amazing. I don't know how she does it, or how she did it, and how she continues to do it. But she has some of the most amazing storytelling abilities I've ever read. Every book, like, I think there's no way she can do it again. She just can't keep this up. But she does. It's incredible. Definitely get darker middle grade, maybe more upper, especially like the Boneshaker series and stuff. But I love upper middle grade, and these are just, they're so good. I love it. And when you see characters from another book, like a dimension, and you're like, wow, and it like clicks, or like you see a place in the story that was in another, like, it's just, it's hard to explain. I don't know how she does it, but everything connects together, and this world she's created, it's the most amazing world to read about, and I'm just always so amazed at her skills. Always so atmospheric, always so engrossing, intriguing, creative, atmospheric. The suspense is insane. But I'll read you the synopsis of the first book, The Greenglass House. The synopsis of other books will be completely different, but I don't want to read those because, like I said, it's all connected, and I think you should, I always recommend reading in the order the author should suggest, or in any sort of order that makes sense. But and there'll be different characters too, like, but they're all connected. It's so crazy. So the synopsis of the first one is, it's wintertime at Greenglass House. The creaky Smuggler's Inn is always quiet during the season, and 12-year-old Milo, the innkeeper's adopted son, plans to spend his holidays relaxing. But on the first icy night of vacation, out of nowhere, the guest bell rings, then rings again, and again. Soon Milo's home is bursting with odd, secretive guests, each one bearing a strange story that is somehow connected to the rambling old house. As objects go missing and tempers flare, Milo and Meddy, the cook's daughter, must decipher clues and untangle the web of deepening mysteries to discover the truth about Greenglass House and themselves. It was like a puzzle you had to put together, and Milo was just, he was amazing. And I always read the author's notes, and I highly recommend it. The author and her husband wanted to adopt, they wanted to create a story about how that would feel for like both the parents and the child who wanted to know, you know, where they came from, and how it would feel when they were raised by someone they didn't look like, and how they had to deal with that, and how they felt about belonging and fitting in, and everything that went along with that. And she dedicated the story to their future adopted child. It's just amazing. She's just amazing. And the end of this book, with the twist, it gave me goosebumps. Like, I did not see that coming at all, and I loved it. And when it all came out, and that scene, it was epic. Like, it was just brilliant. Like, all these books are just brilliant. I highly recommend them, obviously. I know she's got another one set to come out next year, set in the same part of this world as, I think, the Boneshaker part, I think she said, but it doesn't have a synopsis yet. But either way, it's an automatic buy for me. I'm very excited. I would love 10 books a year from her instead of just, I think it's one that we get, or maybe 2, but I think it's just 1. So highly recommend these. Okay, we're down to the last 2. Now this one will be the one that's obviously one of my all-time favorites, and it has a special place in my heart. I got the first book. You might be able to see it says great value on it. I was in Walmart one day, and that cover grabbed my attention, and it was marked on, it was like their sales shelf that they used to do for like $5 or something. I don't know if they still do it. And I grabbed it. I didn't know what middle grade was, or, because when I was growing up, it was Babysitter's Club, and it wasn't called middle grade, I don't think. So I just, kids books, I guess. So I didn't know that's what this was. I just read the synopsis, and it sounded amazing. I love like fairy tales, and like I said, that cover. And I read it, and I was obsessed. Immediately continued to read the rest of the series. I devoured them. I even have all the other books he's put out related to the series, like the little board book, picture books, or the fairy tale, just everything he's put out alongside it. And then he came out with a graphic novel recently, and I got that too. And I also have the first 2 books and the series that comes after this one. I think it's set in the same world maybe, but it's not the same characters. I haven't started that one yet. I was trying to wait till a couple more books came out. I know the 3rd one's coming out, so I'll be getting that. I'll probably read it soon. But this series is what got me into middle grade, and I will be forever grateful, because when I found it, it had been my dad died, and then let's see, 9 months later, my dog got sick for the first time and had to have surgery, and then some things weren't getting better, and then several months later we found out she has cancer. She's currently in remission, so thank God for that. But so I can't read anything stressful. I have depression too, and it will get in my head. I don't want to read like everything else, like romance, drama. I can't no, thank you. Worrying about favorite characters constantly either being hurt or killed, and animals seem to be hurt or killed in a lot of stories too. I cannot definitely read anything like that. It'll get in my head and it'll sit with me for a few days and just mess with me. Even after I read Harry Potter for the first time last year, like the end, the part with Snape, and especially the book scene, and then watching the movie scene where it came about how he really was, and with Harry's mom, like that messed with me. And even something simple like that. So I can't. And these books just bring me so much joy. Even the darker upper middle grade, like that's my perfect darker book. Like I don't have to usually worry about anybody dying that I love, or an animal usually. So I love that, and these will always be special to me, and I will always be grateful. I don't remember if I said, but it's the Land of Stories series by Colfer. I'll read you the synopsis of the first book. Alex and Connor Bailey's world is about to change in this fast-paced adventure that uniquely combines our modern-day world with the enchanting realm of classic fairy tales. The Land of Stories tells the tale of twins Alex and Connor. Through the mysterious powers of a cherished book of stories, they leave their world behind and find themselves in a foreign land full of wonder and magic, where they come face to face with the fairy tale characters they grew up reading about. But after a series of encounters with witches, wolves, goblins, and trolls alike, getting back home is going to be harder than they thought. Now, it's been, wow, 2 or 3 years since I read the first book, but when they meet the frog man, I knew when I was reading it, I'm like, yep, this is going to be my type of book. And Red, from Red Riding Hood, she is so infuriating, but you just are obsessed with her. I don't know how he does that, but I love Red. Seeing all these characters in fairy tales I grew up with brought to life in this way, in a world of their own where they actually live and have lives, and being able to go see them like these kids do, I loved this. I ate it up. It's just my type of story. I just love it. It makes me all emotional thinking about it. But I really highly recommend this, of course, and they're just amazing. I love them. Okay, lastly, my favorite series of all time, The School for Good and Evil. Now, a lot of people think this is a trilogy. I keep hearing them say that, but it's not. It's broken down into 2 trilogies, basically, because the first 3 are the school years, and then the last 3 are called the Camelot years. So the first 3 years while they're in the School for Good and Evil, like still attending, and then the last 3 are while they're out of school and dealing with what you learn they have to end up facing and deal with. I don't want to spoil it. This is just so good. He takes the fairy tales you know and flips them on their head, and it's just brilliant. It's a darker MG for sure, upper MG. Like I said, I love that. And you hate Sophie at first. A lot of people hate her, but she's my favorite. And even the author says that that's his favorite character, because if he had to be a character, it would be Sophie. And I love that. This is just such a great series. It's even like the smallest thing, like there's when Cinderella's in here, her story that he like reimagined, the way he tells it, it's very short, but that's like my favorite reimagining, even that little blip of it in his story that I've ever heard. And I've heard others say that too. He's just amazing. And the last book, I was so worried, but it all, once again, like I love authors who can do this apparently, but it all came together. Like everything that you learn in each story, it's like everything went click, click, like it all clicked into place, and he wrapped everything together with a neat little bow. And what isn't always pretty neat little bow, but it doesn't stress me out, because like I said, I can't handle that. It ended the way it should have. It was an ending worthy of this series, and he nailed it. When the last book in a series can become your favorite, you know you have an author that you want to continue reading from, especially in 6 books. So I hated saying goodbye to these characters in this world because it's just so brilliant and you grow so attached to them, and it's just seeing their character development and their growth, this world building, seeing these fairy tale characters through this author's eyes, the way he imagines them, and how stereotypes up against each other and society thing, like it's just brilliant. I'll read the first book synopsis. The first kidnappings happened 200 years before. Some years it was 2 boys taken, some years 2 girls, sometimes one of each. But at first the choices seemed random. Soon the pattern became clear. One was always beautiful and good, the child every parent wanted as their own. The other was homely and odd, an outcast from birth, an imposing pair, plucked from youth and spirited away. This year, best friends Sophie and Agatha are about to discover where all the lost children go. The fabled school for good and evil, where ordinary boys and girls are trained to be fairy tale heroes and villains. As the most beautiful girl in Gavaldon, Sophie has dreamed of being kidnapped into an enchanted world her whole life. With her pink dresses, glass slippers, and devotion to good deeds, she knows she'll earn top marks at the school for good and graduate a storybook princess. Meanwhile, Agatha, with her shapeless black frocks, wicked pet cat, and dislike of nearly everyone, seems a natural fit for the school for evil. But when the 2 girls are swept into the endless woods, they find their fortunes reversed. Sophie's dumped into the school for evil to take uglification, death curses, and henchman training, while Agatha finds herself in the school for good, thrust among handsome princes and fair maidens for classes in princess etiquette and animal communication. But what if the mistake is actually the first clue to discovering who Sophie and Agatha really are? So, as you can see, brilliant. Seeing them at these schools that they both think they don't belong at, seeing Agatha try to take beauty, it's just amazing. And then Sophie taking uglification, like she's such a prim and self-absorbed girl, and it just, what you think you know, like you think they should go to the other school by appearances, but it's what's inside that is being looked at in this case. And it's just, it makes you think, and it's just so many things. It makes you think. It has a lot of great messages and lessons and themes, amazing storytelling, and just enjoyable reads. It's just amazing. I love it so much. These books are so incredible. I have the hardback of book number 6 actually downstairs. I forgot I had it down there because I want to reread that one, because I read the first 5 before the 6th one came out. So I want to reread the 6th one again to make them where I've read them all twice. So I went and grabbed the paperback because I have all the paperbacks too, because the series has the same covers no matter where you buy them, except the paperbacks are different from the hardbacks. So I did do that because it's my favorite series of all time. So that's what that is, and I want to read them again. But I have so many books to read. I learned that illustrator names are hard to pronounce most of the time when I've looked over them over time. So I don't even want to butcher all those names. I don't even think I said the author of this series. Hold on. It's The School for Good and Evil by Soman Shinani. The illustrators I'm going to link below because I think it's important to always credit illustrators, because the covers are what made me even look twice at a book to even read the synopsis in the first place. They deserve a lot of credit, and when I can't find who the cover artist is, no matter anywhere in the book, I get very mad. And so they deserve a lot of credit. So I will link them all below. The author of this, the illustrator of this series is one of my top all-time favorite illustrators, and I'm not gonna even try to say his name because I'm not really sure about how to say his first name. But like I said, I will link it below, and in future videos I'll always do that too, because it would not be good if I tried to say them. So I hope you liked this first video. I'm on Bookstagram, but I don't really want to be on camera myself. Maybe that'll change, I don't know, but I haven't had good experience with people, so for now it'll just be whatever I'm talking about or what the camera's focused on. Like if I do vlogs, I guess that would be weird, but I don't know, we'll see. Like I said, I'll do another one with my favorite series that are less than 4 books, so just like normal trilogies and stuff, once I narrow that down. So I hope you enjoyed this first video. Like I said, I have a Bookstagram and a Goodreads. I will link them below if I figure out how to do that. I only read middle grade. When I was talking about not wanting stressful things, that's basically what that meant. I only read middle grade now. I'm not one to say never, so I don't know if that will change. Like, I even have some young adult and adult books that I've gotten that sound like I might like them if I ever decide to read them. And I do subscribe to Fairy Loot because they just have beautiful books, and they sound like books I would like when and if I do read them. And I like all the little stuff that comes in the boxes to decorate the book room with. But for now and for the last 2 or 3 years, I only read middle grade, so that's all that will be on here. Unless I just show you the young adult shelf that I have, but that's all I read is middle grade. So I think that's all. Alright, thanks y'all. See you next time. Hope it wasn't too awkward and cringy. Bye.